Hey guys, what's up? This is Dingo Crikey here with another commentary video, this time a Transformers Q&A. If you are interested in more news and commentary on Transformers 5, the Transformers Age of Extinction toy line, or the upcoming Robots in Disguise cartoon, then you could check out my playlist and channel where you can also find over 20 of my Transformers stop motion videos, some of which are previewed here. This video, however, is going to be a general Transformers questions and answers video. So to explain the purpose of this, I get a lot of different suggestions from people on various Transformer videos to make commentaries for, different topic suggestions, and a lot of them are good topic suggestions, but they're not really stuff that I could spend a whole video discussing. For example, there are some topics that I've done, such as why do the creators want Optimus Prime, where there is a lot of different room for discussion within that one topic. Whereas I might get a comment such as, and this is no comment in particular, just something off the top of my head, will Skybite from Robots in Disguise appear in Transformers 5? To which, there's not a whole lot to actually discuss there. It's sort of a yes or no kind of thing. I mean, there might be some room for speculation in that topic in particular, because maybe people are thinking the Predacons could be in the film. But in that case, I would probably do a Transformers 5 Predacons video, which I might do eventually. So this video is to focus on those suggestions that I get that are good suggestions, but don't necessarily merit an entire video. Now let's say I was to get a suggestion such as, will Goldbug appear in Transformers 5? There are two ways which I would probably do that. In a Transformers character predictions video, which I did previously discussing Goldbug, or in the Will Bumblebee Die video. You see, I wouldn't discuss Goldbug in an entire video for himself. Now, if we were getting rumors that Goldbug would appear in Transformers 5, I could probably do a video speculating on whether he's going to be a new character, or whether he was going to be Bumblebee, because they might want to give him some kind of upgrade, even though he gets an upgrade in almost every movie anyways. And hopefully this will give me a chance to get to more of the suggestions that I do get on videos. And if you do suggest something, and I do it in one of these videos, but it gets more significance due to news being released on the film, I might redo a video dedicated to that subject in itself. Anyways, without further ado, let's get to the questions. So the first question comes from Vexous Ultotronous. I'll hopefully put the name in the annotations so you guys can see it, because I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. And sorry if I mispronounced it. Anyways, he was wondering about the Star Saber and whether or not it would be used in the movie trilogy. Says he's a big fan of the weapon, so we would like to see it in there. I want to say thanks for that suggestion. I'm also a fan of the Star Saber. In Armada, it probably was my second favorite of the weapons, at least in combined form. In their combined form, I would say the Skyboom Shield might be my favorite. I didn't exactly like the way it looked in the show, how they didn't add the actual details of the minicons, but I thought the way it was used was pretty cool. As far as just the minicons themselves, I think the Star Saber minicons were definitely the coolest. And it is kind of a shame and pretty pathetic that I didn't get any of those Star Saber teams. I think they released 4 of them, because there was the Energon Saber, the Dark Saber, which had a really cool cameo in the series as well. And then there was some other repaint of the team. I think it was black and red, but not necessarily like the Dark Saber. Maybe some white too. Yeah, I didn't get any of those, unfortunately. One day I would like to, but anyways, the Star Saber was also seen in kind of a different form as being one of the ancient relics in Transformers Prime, and so was the Dark Saber as sort of Megatron's counter to the Star Saber. They both had pretty cool roles in that show, and it definitely makes them more relevant as far as recent Transformers media goes. However, will they appear in the films? I think that can kind of go 3 ways. One way, they could just never even think of the concept or totally ignore it. Another way is, they'd kind of figure, well, we had Optimus and all of the Knights in Age of Extinction, so the Star Saber would be pretty redundant. But what they could also do as the third option that I would see is in Transformers 5 kind of continue the whole Knight saga with Optimus, Grimlock, and the Dinobots, and basically have Optimus get an upgraded sword, which would be the Star Saber. I think there's a possibility they might do that, especially if they're going for this lighter tone that they've been talking about. That might kind of give it more of a heroic, action-y kind of feel. And with a new Star Wars film bringing Star Wars back into the spotlight, swords might be a big thing again, so who knows, maybe we could see the Star Saber. I definitely don't think it would be as 3 minicons combining into the sword. It would be something much more like what we've seen in Transformers Prime. I would really like to see the energy wave ability. I thought that was a really, really awesome concept. But anyways, yeah, I think they would do something more like that if they were going to use the sword. But we'll have to see what happens. Next question is from user VelkroVX, and that is Wreckers versus Dinobots. So it wasn't specified whether this was a kind of who are the better characters or who would win in a battle. Who are the better characters? I mean, I don't know a whole lot about the Wreckers right now because from what I know, they're mainly a comic book team, and I haven't gotten around to reading a lot of the comic books yet. I do plan to. I've read the comics that come with the figures, that kind of thing. But from what I know of them, I would lean towards the Wreckers just because I would expect more diversity within their cast. But, maybe the Dinobots are a little bit more expressed in the comics too. But in G1 and in animated, they're kind of just big and dumb. Grimlock is smart in his own way, but, they aren't as unique as far as personality goes. So I can't really give a really good answer on that, unfortunately. But if I had to pick one of the two, I would say probably the Wreckers. From what I could tell, I would think they would probably win a battle too, because, it's going to be close. They're both pretty tough teams, but, the Wreckers seem like a really, really tough team. They're probably more strategic, have experience with different types of weapons, more long-ranged weapons. I'm guessing they're probably smarter as well. And, some of them are pretty buff, so they could probably handle the Dinobots in a fist fight too, at least pretty well. So I think it would be a close fight, but I would say the Wreckers. Now, I don't have a ton of information currently on that. Once I've read more of the comics, I would definitely like to come back to that topic and probably do a full video on it because I think it would be pretty interesting. Anyways, thanks for that suggestion. And the next question comes from Captiankirk Games, and the comment was a little bit confusing, but I think he's asking which band should do the next song for Transformers 5, Linkin Park, or Imagine Dragons. I'm actually not a big fan of either of those bands. As far as Imagine Dragons go, I've probably heard some of their songs before, but about the only song I heard by them, knowing it was Imagine Dragons, was the songs played for Transformers Age of Extinction. As far as Linkin Park, I used to be into them a little bit more. I never was a huge fan, but I used to like Hybrid Theory, Through Minutes to Midnight, and some of A Thousand Suns stuff, but I really didn't like their last two albums, especially Hunting Party. Did not like it at all. So with that said, I think Imagine Dragons works better because the new songs they made for the film were definitely better than some of Linkin Park's new songs like Wasteland, which aren't that great. But I think both bands kind of fit these Transformer films. This stuff that sounds really epic and dense, but really the singer's probably singing about nothing or just some over-dramatized relationship song. That kind of stuff. It somehow works really good for giant battles and robots and that kind of stuff. You want something that's heavier, but, not something that's like thrash metal Metallica where they're going crazy fast on the drums or something like that, but the heavy rhythm guitar or the big loud drums they use in the Imagine Dragons songs, that works pretty good for the film. That's why I really didn't like when they used Iridescent by Linkin Park for Dark of the Moon. It's an okay song, but it really doesn't fit the Transformer films. It's like too peaceful and calm and nice. These aren't nice movies. They're like, guys ripping each other's heads off and robots peeing on people and that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? That's even where it's like a lot of the music that I do like, it's like, I'm not sure I'd necessarily want it being played for the Transformers films just because I like the music a lot, and it probably isn't the kind of stuff that will work with the Transformer films. And also, I don't really like the films that much to want my favorite bands to be making songs for them. Now, if a musician I liked was going to make a song for Bionicle or one of the Transformers cartoons like Transformers Prime, that would be pretty awesome. But I wouldn't want them making it for the films just because I don't like the films as much and the image they portray and that kind of thing. Plus, most of the music I'm into is Japanese music, so I don't think they're going to get their songs in a big American movie anytime soon. Anyways, if I was to pick between one of the two, I would definitely pick Imagine Dragons at this point, because I don't know a whole lot about them, but they sound like they're currently on a better path than Linkin Park are. Yeah, Linkin Park definitely went downhill. But that's my opinion. Maybe you guys like their stuff. Next question comes from user Quickster22, basically asking my thoughts on the different factions that we could get in the fifth film. I would definitely like to see some other factions in the next Transformers film, and I might actually do a video dedicated to that topic entirely sometime in the future. As far as the ones we could see in the film, I mean, I do think we already kind of seen a different faction in Age of Extinction with whatever side Lockdown's on. I know he's labeled a Decepticon on the toy, and I think even on Everything Wrong with Transformers Age of Extinction they call him a Decepticon, which is incorrect because I think he's his own guy. I mean, Decepticons usually have red eyes, Autobots blue eyes. He has green eyes too, and kind of makes that distinction that he's on neither side. So he probably has his own faction. Hopefully that is the Quintessons. That would be really cool. But even if they're not, they have to be some other faction. It can't be Autobots and Decepticons unless they're going to really let down all the viewers and just say, oh, it was some elaborate Decepticon scheme by some original Decepticon before the Fallen. And that's who Lockdown was really working for. I hope they don't go into that direction. But yeah, I do think we'll see another faction there. As far as other characters such as the Heralds of Unicron, I think that's a really cool idea. However, I don't think we'll see them in Transformers 5, and I would kind of like them to hold off on the Heralds of Unicron if they're going to use them and introduce them in Transformers 6, you know, kind of use Transformers 5 to build up to Unicron, maybe have a big reveal of him at the end of the film. But I wouldn't want to see them in the fifth film, and I don't think we should see them in the fifth film. The sixth film, I definitely think it would be really cool. He mentioned some other ones, such as Jyaxxus's faction. Now, we have had a Jyaxxus figure released in the Generations line recently, so that might kind of boost his chances of appearing in the film, but I wouldn't say his chances are too high. Perhaps we'll have some sort of a cameo appearance, maybe in flashbacks they'll be mentioning older Transformers, something like that. But I don't think he would be used in Transformers 5 or 6. You know, maybe there's a possibility he could be connected with the creators somehow, but personally I would kind of prefer him to return to the franchise in some other form, such as the villain in a cartoon, preferably after Robots in Disguise, rather than being a character introduced in the movies. Main villains such as him or Sideways and Armada being obscure, they are pretty cool, but I would like to see certain ones return to the franchise at some point or in some form, and definitely I'm always for adding different factions and new characters or bringing back older villains just to get out of the Autobot Decepticon Optimus versus Megatron monotony. I mean, even if you want to have that be the general conflict of Optimus versus Megatron, I would think you would want some room for like in between or subplots of having different villains come in and out of the story. So, you know, I think there's some of them that could appear in Transformers 5, some of them won't, but I do think by the end of 5 and 6 we will at least have one other faction established in the film franchise. Anyways, thanks for that question. That's a really, really good question, and I definitely think that that topic deserves its own video sometime down the road. Anyways, moving on to the last question that I'll be addressing in this video, and that comes from user Festive Pyro, asking whether I think Hasbro is getting lazier with the main toy lines such as the movie and the cartoons, and he specifically distinguishes that he's not talking about the Generations toy lines, and he still thinks those are good. So, that is a really, really good question, and I definitely would like to think about it more for its own video sometime in the future. But right now, I kind of have mixed thoughts on that. As far as the Age of Extinction toy line, I actually really, really like it. And I have a lot of the figures from the line, so I kind of have a lot to base my opinions off of. I know a lot of people out there don't like it. If you can give reasons for that, I would definitely like to hear them, because I don't really understand it. I can get it that some of the figures have certain articulation problems, or they don't have wrist swivel. That's a big deal to a lot of people, I know. But I really like the Age of Extinction toy line. I think they have a really nice color scheme altogether. I really like some of the colors they have, such as the Dinobots, like Scorn, or Slug, or Slog. Even Galvatron being a non-Dinobot character. I love that figure. I think it has a really, really nice build. Its transformation is too simplistic, but he looks nice in truck mode, and he has really nice detailing. So I don't see a problem with figures like that. I do think some of the problems that the line has are kind of just problems that are slowly progressing throughout Transformers' run and aren't really specific to the Age of Extinction toy line. There's stuff we see that are exemplified heavier in the Age of Extinction toy line, but I think you could see some of them even in the Generations figures, such as we are getting less wrist swivel. That wasn't really an issue with me for a long time, but now that I see figures that had it and figures that don't, I kind of get what people are saying. The figures are getting a lot smaller, and they are overpriced, but that's kind of a whole economy issue. Same with the smaller thing. Something we just kind of see a lot of today. It's kind of like when you get a Cadbury egg or whatever they're called at Easter, and they're smaller each year. It is something that just seems to go on, whether it's Generations or Age of Extinction. As far as the way the toys feel, as far as the amount of work put into them, the transformations, their articulations, whether they feel like a sturdy toy or kind of hollow and junky feeling, I think that kind of varies on which figure you're talking about. For instance, the Fall of Cybertron Combiners, I don't know how other people feel about those figures, but I think they look cool, but they're really not that great of toys. Thinking of Swindle and Brawl, Brawl really can't stand that well because he has no heels. He does look cool, but he can't stand that well. Swindle has a very hollow feel. His lower legs are huge and his upper legs are really small, and he just kind of feels junky. And I would say the same thing with the feel of Onslaught. He kind of has a junky feel, and his arms are really, really weird. Whereas if you look at a few years back, the Universe Ultra Class Onslaught we got was an absolutely incredible figure. He had some pieces that could break off easily, but he was a really, really nice figure. Had a great vehicle mode, great robot mode, really nice detailing, a great color scheme. So you could look at that and think even the Generations line is getting more generic, but we have some really good figures that are very recent toys as well, such as Generation Springer. Watching Season 3 of Generation 1, that was pretty much everything I could want for a Voyager-class Springer figure. He has a really nice sword, gun. Both of his modes are pretty cool. You're always going to have some problem with triple changers, but he has a very sturdy feel. He's incredibly posable. I don't really see too much problem with certain figures like that, so I think it kind of varies, even with the Age of Extinction toy line. Evasion Mode Optimus Prime is a great figure, has a really nice transformation, maybe could use some more paint apps, but has really nice detailing. He looks nice. And then you have figures like Slog, who in my opinion look awesome, but when you get them in hand, they have all sorts of problems with articulation. He has weird elbow articulation. A lot of stuff gets in the way because he has all that kibble, which looks really cool, but it doesn't make for great playability or posing or stop motion. And the same thing kind of goes for Deluxes. Slash isn't that great of a figure to me, but Scorn is an absolutely incredible Deluxe. Some people might criticize the Hunchback, but I think it kind of adds to the look, and overall he's a great figure, has a really nice solid feel as well. One thing that I do notice is we seem to get a lot more duds of figures, if you know what I mean. Like they'll have mispaints, or they're kind of deformed in a way, or a piece is super loose. I noticed that started happening more with the Cybertron line, and just seems to have gotten more and more prevalent since then. I guess Transformers are a lot more mass-produced than they were back in the early 2000s, so maybe we should expect that. But I do definitely notice that. It's kind of like when me and my brother go into the stores, we have to inspect all of the toys and make sure their faces aren't like deformed in some way, or not missing paint on their faceplate or something like that. But as far as the overall quality of the figures, I would really like to hear what you guys have to say about this. Maybe you're noticing other things that you think takes down the quality of the figures. I'd really like to hear what you have to say about the Age of Extinction toys in particular, because I don't really see the problems with them, but I think I'm the exception here. Everyone else, even my brother, is not a big fan of them outside of the Dinobots, and that seems to be the case with a lot of other people. So I'd like to hear your thoughts on that. One thing I definitely do notice, though, is that in general, outside of a few exceptions, the toys are getting a lot smaller. If you were to look at, let's say, Energon Prow, now, mind you, the Energon Autobots were pretty big, no matter what class they were. But if you were to look at Energon Prow, for instance, and the Generations Orion Pax, I mean, Energon Prow could practically eat that Orion Pax with mild indigestion. I mean, it's just, there's such a huge size difference with the money's worth. So when people bring that up, I definitely get what people are saying there. I don't mind a few smaller figures, but I do think the deluxe classes are getting way too small. If they want to make these smaller figures, they should reintroduce the Scout class. I'm a big fan of the Scout class altogether, so I would really like them to come back, and I don't want the deluxes to become the Scouts. But anyways, this video is going on really long, so I'll wrap things up here. You guys can leave your thoughts in the comments section below on any of these topics that I discussed in this video, and also tell me if you like this kind of video where I discuss a bunch of different Transformers topics in one video. Maybe this one ran on a little bit too long, but tell me what you think of it, and also drop off any topic suggestions you might have, and maybe I'll do them in a video like this, or maybe I'll dedicate an entire video to them. Anyways, that's all I have to say for this one. If you haven't already done so, then check out my previous Transformers commentary videos. I have commentary on Transformers 5, the Age of Extinction toy line, some general Transformers stuff, and the upcoming Robots in Disguise cartoon. So if you're interested in any of those topics, you can check them out, along with my Transformers stop motion videos. That's all I have to say for this one. Thanks for watching, stay tuned, and have a good one, guys.